Alright guys, welcome. Here we are, another episode. I'm Matthias Turner and we have Stacey Lee Turner with us.
Hey guys, welcome to the XPT Life podcast.
So today we've got another one of our pillars. So if you haven't already heard, we've already done sleep and vitamin D or light.
Outside time.
Exactly. And once again, a good place to check in to see how you're doing with our 7 pillars is the Optimal Health Scorecard, which we have available on our website. So that's at thechiefelifecom /scorecard. No optimal health in there, just scorecard. So once again, thechiefelifecom/scorecard. And that will get you straight there, exactly. And that's kind of, I guess, a base where you can put how you're doing so far and where you want to be at as well, which is really quite helpful for setting goals and finding out how to potentially, I guess, direct your goals as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this episode is going to be all about breath. And breathing. Obviously we need to do this in order to stay alive, but there's ways in which you can do it to help optimize your life in various ways. So we're going to delve into that a little bit deeper today.
Yeah, so something to know is that breathing affects everything everything in our body on a cellular level. So everything that functions within our body needs oxygen to survive. So when we stop breathing, if you're underwater for instance and you drown, you die because you don't have that cellular oxygen that it needs to be able to function correctly.
Let's hope you don't do that.
So
good analogy.
There's 2 types of breathing, mouth breathing and
nose breathing.
Or nasal breathing. And so I guess a good way to think about this, and you can't always do one or the other. Or you probably could always mouth breathe if you wanted to, but it's not highly recommended.
No.
Ideally, you're going to be nose breathing most of the time. However, when you're talking, it's obviously pretty hard to nose breathe and talk. So for the next half an hour, you'll probably hear us taking gasps through our mouth and mouth breathing, even though that's not what we recommend. So
I guess if you learn to play the didgeridoo, you might get better at speaking whilst breathing through your nose at the same time.
Yeah, quite potentially. So something to really think of is mouth breathing is like drinking water from a pond, whereas breathing through your nose is like drinking filtered water, because you've got all of the systems in place in your nose to be able to filter the air as it comes through. That's why you've got things like nose hair, and that's why we've got a whole, the mouth is a digestive tract. It's for digesting food.
And talking.
Yeah, whereas your nose is for breathing.
Yes, definitely. So if you take a moment now to think about when you're breathing normally, are you usually a mouth breather or a nose breather? And if you've got a blocked nose, and you've regularly got a blocked nose, whether it's due to sinus problems or allergies or a cold, you will be breathing through your mouth a lot more. And so we want to give you guys ways in which you can learn to become a nose breather, so you can not only improve your breathing but also improve your overall health and your well-being.
So there's such things as breathing dysfunctions, or the way that you breathe, and you can assess how you're actually breathing. So that is a simple assessment as to am I mouth breathing or am I nose breathing regularly? We can do further assessments based on how your body responds. So are you shallow breathing to your chest all the time? Do you get a sore neck, like sore scalenes? That's quite often because you're breathing shallowly through your mouth, and your shoulders are raising each time you take that short, sharp breath in.
Those scalene muscles are along the front of the neck here, and then you've got your SCM as well that comes around the side.
Yeah. You can also have a look at diaphragmatic breathing. So the diaphragm is the part that sits underneath your lungs, and so underneath your rib cage. And it's actually the only muscle in our body that is has a 360 degree angle of the body. So it goes all the way around the body and connects back to itself. So if your diaphragm is out, it's going to potentially throw your spine out and potentially throw a lot of things out. So ideally, if we're breathing correctly and learning to breathe correctly through your diaphragm, everything should function the way it's meant to be. Within saying that, you should actually be able to control where you breathe to in your body. So you could say, I want to breathe in my left diaphragm only. Try that out. Put your hand on your left side of your diaphragm and breathe in through your nose. And try to breathe into that hand and exhale out through that hand. If that was really tough for you, then potentially you just don't have a trained system yet. So it's learning to train your breathing protocols and learning to train how to breathe into your diaphragm. The other thing is just being able to activate your diaphragm. So you don't only want your breath to fill the diaphragm forwards and backwards, because like I said, it's 360 degree. Ideally, when we're testing diaphragmatic breathing, you're going to place your hands on the side of your rib cage, right down low, and try to breathe so your belly doesn't only expand forwards, but it also expands widthways as well,
out
so
to the
sideways.
sides. And you can also think of your diaphragm like a dome. So as you inhale and you expand your lungs, you're pushing that dome downwards towards the floor. And then as you exhale, it draws back up towards your lungs.
Correct. And you should really, when you're breathing, like if you were to lay down, it should look like a wave. It should kind of fill in from the bottom, come up and finish in your lungs or in your chest with a small raise. And then on the opposite, when you're breathing out, the opposite happens. So it comes from your chest and it starts to float out and comes out of your belly and finishing on the lower abdominal.
Now, obviously, there's no air in your actual belly, but what we're talking about here is that we're expanding parts of the body in order to reach the base of the lungs so we can infuse and use every little tiny alveoli at the bottom of your lungs.
Correct. And this becomes really important when you're doing things like training, and in particular trying to brace your body. If you can breathe into, say, your lower abdominals, you're going to be able to brace that position. Whereas if you've got no function of that at all, so you can't control your pelvic floor because you can't breathe into it or you can't activate it, then there's going to cause issues there as well. Try and move it a little. Okay, so I mean, learning to breathe, and one thing you can do as an assessment piece is lay down on your back and have someone put their hands on different positions of your back, and think of it like 3 different positions.
Your back or your belly?
Sorry, laying on your belly and have their hand on your back. And so your 3 different positions, there'll be one at the upper back or on your like the high thoracic, I guess.
Above your heart for the yogis.
Yeah, there'll be one in the middle of the back, and then one at the lower back. So lower
Sacrum.
back, yeah, right on the sacrum pretty much.
So not your actual lower back, the flat triangular bony part below your lower back.
So in that position, I should be able to say to Stace when she was laying flat on her belly, breathe into this part of your body. You should feel pressure come into that position. So obviously that takes 2 people to be able to do that test. But that can kind of tell you as to how you're breathing and whether you're breathing correctly. Things like sleep apnea are actually a breathing dysfunction. It means that you're breathing irregularly while you're sleeping. So it's something that we can fix to some extent through doing training. So breath work before bed, or just breath work in general, we might go through a little bit of a breath exercise at the end that could help out with apnea, with stress, with actually increasing your CO2 tolerance, with a lot of things. So yeah.
And I guess it doesn't have to be before bed, because some people might find that this actually gives them energy. So some people might like to start their day with it. I start my day with a breath technique, and some of you might like to use it just before training as part of your warm-up.
Another one that you can do to actually figure out whether you've got any dysfunction or not is called a bulk test, which is your body oxygen level test. Now, we might actually go through this, but there's a few different scores that you can get, and we'll talk about them afterwards, because otherwise your score might become tainted. So what I want you to do is only breathe through your nose. You're going to exhale all of your air, and then let's just continue to breathe normally, as you normally would, just through your nose.
Don't do this if you're driving.
So just in and out as per normal. Let's get you back just to a ready state or a calm state. So you should be sitting if you're doing this as well. And what I want you to do when we say to go is you're going to breathe just your normal breath. You'll breathe in and out just as normal. We don't want to extend it or shorten it or do anything different to what you normally would. So it's just a very regular breath. One more thing to think of there is that you don't exhale all of your air on a regular breath. So you're not looking to exhale hard, you're not looking to inhale hard. We're just going to take a regular breath in, a regular breath out. At the end of your breath, I want you to cover your nose with your fingers, and you're going to hold your breath, and you're going to count how long that is. So when you're ready, let's go for that.
So exhale a little bit out.
No, regular breath in, no, regular breath out. And then you hold your nose. And there you're counting. And what we're looking for, pause because I didn't tell you what you're looking for. Let's start this again. So what we are actually looking for is the first sign of oxygen, like where you need to gasp for it, sorry.
Air,
but we're not looking for the extent, so it's air hunger is what we're looking for. We're not looking for the extent where you are so tired that you're about to pass out. It's literally like my mind says, okay, I'm ready to breathe again. That's when we're going to go. So this is the bulk test once again. So back to your regular breathing.
And you're going to time it.
So we're going to go a deep breath in, and a breath out. Once you finish your exhale, start your timer, block your nose, and we'll hold it until you feel that need for oxygen. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds or more if you need it. You can pause if you need it.
So pause it now if you're still going. Otherwise, we'll continue with the results.
Excellent. So what we're looking for here, guys, and based on when you need to get some oxygen in, we'll give you a score. So from 0 to 9 seconds, from 10 to 19 seconds, from 20 to 29 seconds, 30 to 39, and then pretty much 40 plus is what we're looking for. So from 0 to 9 seconds is very poor and can usually be related to some sort of breathing dysfunction. From 10 to 19, we're also saying there's a poor state or a poor goal, which is not necessarily related, but I think it's if you're under 14 from memory, maybe 16, that there is a fair sign that you're still maybe in issue or in
dysfunction.
I guess, yeah, in some sort of case of dysfunction. From 20 to 29 is acceptable, from 30 to 39 is good, and 40 plus is optimal. So that's good. So sorry about the quick stuff up there, but that's what, if you want to, sit back or go back and really listen to that, do the test properly, make sure you have a crack at it, because it can give you a lot straight away.
Yeah, and don't force yourself to hold your breath. You just want to stop when you feel that first sign of air hunger.
Yeah, the issue with the BOLT test is it's subjective. Once you know the results as well, you can tend to exactly push a little bit different to it. So, I mean, it's a good test, but at the same time, it can be subjective to how you respond to it. But that can tell you a few things, and what we're looking at here is your CO2 tolerance. So when you have the need to breathe, that's actually because you've got high levels of CO2, not because you need oxygen within your body. So your body needs to clear CO2 from your body, and so that's what you're needing to do when you breathe in the oxygen, or that's what your body's telling you to do. So same with when you're doing a workout, for instance, and you get hot and puffy, and you're starting to take deep breaths, that's due to your body having such a big buildup of CO2.
Yes. And so ways that we can start to improve this BOLT test, or even just your fitness in general, through breath techniques.
So there's all different types of breath techniques you can go to, but one big thing is going back to nasal breathing, like we talked about previously. So really, you should be aiming to nasal breathe as often as you possibly can.
Even through workouts.
Yeah. I mean, there is a time where you are going to need to mouth breathe during a workout, in the later states of a workout. But you can train yourself during, say, for instance, some row repeats or something like that to do just nasal breathing. And yes, it might take the intensity of the training down, but you're actually working a different state, which is your breath, and learning to use your diaphragmatic breathing in different stages of your breath. And
at first you might not be able to do the whole session through your nose. It can feel, for some, like they're struggling to get breath in. So obviously in that case, do as long as you can nasal breathing, and then breathe through your mouth as you need to. But over time you should be able to increase the amount of time that you're breathing just through your nose.
So we might go to some protocols later. I want to talk a little bit more about maybe breathing benefits. So breathing in general, when you breathe in, it speeds up your heart rate, and when you breathe out, it slows down your heart rate. So when we're looking at things like your vagus nerve, which controls every single electric nerve sent to your heart, essentially. So it's like the control of your heart. If we are constantly breathing fast, and as a population, the world, chronic overbreathers.
Yeah, but very shallow up in the chest rather than down in the diaphragm.
So trying to get too much oxygen in.
Lots of mouth breathers.
We tend to speed our breath up, which then in turn makes our heartbeat go faster, which in turn also raises our cortisol levels. So when we've got high levels of cortisol, we can start to see the body dysfunction in general. So once again, it is really quite important to how we breathe. But I mean, you can look at studies, and a lot of dentists and orthodontists are on this now, in regards to your facial structure changing from early years. So from when you're born, if you're not nose breathing constantly, if you become a mouth breather young and you continue to be a mouth breather, your face can droop and the bone structure can completely change, because you've got this big air pocket that sits just behind your nose, and if you're not using it, that air cavity, it droops and just doesn't get used, and so there's no need for it, so your body just kind of gets rid of it, and that's when we see long, droopy horse faces.
And some people might need braces, more likely if they've been mouth breathing rather than nose breathing. And even with the introduction of a lot of technology with our kids growing up, iPads, TVs, you tend to find that because they're not conscious, not present, and they're distracted by electronics, that they tend to sit there and mouth breathe rather than nose breathe. And even with just watching how your kids eat and that sort of stuff. So keep an eye on that and encourage your kids to breathe through their nose as much as possible to decrease issues with facial development and structure of the face. The other thing I wanted to say about the nervous system that Matty was talking about with electrical impulses to the heart. So when you breathe through your mouth, you're more likely to send your body into the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight response system. Whereas if you're breathing through your nose, as Matty said, it stimulates the vagus nerve from the brain, which then tells your body that you need to go into your rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system, which is where we ideally want to be to keep cortisol levels low, to allow us to sleep properly, to recover from our training. So really, not only is breathing through the nose going to help with your fitness and your health, but it's also going to help with recovery, stress levels, with your mindset, your mental health, and also with your digestion. So if you're anxious or stressed, your body's less likely to be able to digest the food that you're eating, whereas if you're calm and composed, then you're more likely to be in that rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system and be able to digest your food properly.
Yeah, breathing is really like the remote to your brain. And a good example of this is that anxiety and excitement are actually the exact same thing. The only difference is how we're breathing at the time, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? Like if anyone's ever had an anxiety attack or felt anxious in general, like it doesn't feel anything like excitement really, but your body is actually taking the same response. It's just how you're breathing at the time. So usually when you're anxious, you're shallow breathing.
I've actually had a friend very recently tell me a story about a friend of hers who was having a panic attack, and she used a circular or box breathing protocol to help that person get back out of their anxiety attack or panic attack back to normal. Yeah,
I mean generally when someone's having an anxiety attack, you can't say breathe through your nose, just breathe through your nose, because they're not going to be able to. I mean, even just saying breathe can be quite annoying to someone like that. So you could
breathe
just
with them,
maybe talk with them. So it's like, we're going to breathe in for 1, 2, and breathe out for 1, 2. Like something like that can be just the basic protocol, just to, I guess, lengthen their breath.
Yeah, start to slow it down.
But we actually have a lot of protocols, and we've helped a lot of people in regards to not only being able to get to sleep, but also with stress and anxiety, as well as for someone who might have to talk publicly, for someone who has to go into a board meeting and is just anxious in general. We've helped them a lot just through different breathing protocols.
Even with digestive issues.
Massively. And so, I mean, my favourite one that I've always used, and I always go back to because it is so simple, is a simple 4 seconds in through the nose and 8 seconds out through the nose. So once again, it's 4 seconds in. Let's try it out. Everyone breathe out really quick. Breathe out all of your oxygen, and just through the nose, we'll count in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, once over, you might not feel absolutely unreal and unraveled, but
I feel so calm right
if
now.
if you do maybe 3 or 4 cycles of this, your vagus nerve once again starts to put you into that rest and digest phase or state, and you start to really calm the body down. It's really quite nice. So this is a really good protocol just before sleep to do. It's something that I do actually every night, and I'm out like a light.
I mean, 4 and 8 feels like a little bit too long. You can actually go lower. The goal here is to make your exhale longer than your inhale, and you'll get the same benefits.
Yeah, and that
can increase it over time.
Yeah, definitely. And that can come, like, if you're finding that shallow, short, sharp breaths are all you can take, then start low and build your way up. And like anything, like training, you can improve this stuff. Like meditation, you can improve this stuff, and breathing is kind of like a form of meditation, right? If you're just following your breath, it's like meditating to some extent, and just trying to keep your mind on counting, and that's probably where counting sheep came from, right? When you're trying to go to sleep, but counting your breath in and counting your breath out it might not be as exciting to say to a kid, all right, we're going to count how many seconds in and how many seconds out, but I don't know.
Well,
maybe that's why they came up with sheep.
But there are a lot of awesome techniques being used with kids now. They've got these special things called breathing blankets. Have I told you about this before?
I have heard of them. I don't know if we talked about them.
So, a friend of mine has her kid struggles to get to sleep and suffers from anxiety, and so they bought a special breathing blanket. It's a little bit heavier than a normal blanket, and so when it's resting on the kid's belly, they can feel the pressure, and so then the goal is to inhale the blanket up and exhale the blanket down. And I think for really young kids, they've got like a little, I don't know, like themed animal or something that sits on top, and it's like make the pig move up, make the pig move down. And, so it kind of makes it fun.
There's actually things for adults, like for instance, there's a little, I guess it's like a little square that you put on your bedside table, and it shines a light up into your roof, and it goes in and out and in and out, like it expands and comes back into a small circle. And the point of that is that you're meant to follow your breath with it, so it's quite a slow expansion and returning back to a small position or small circle.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
I guess while we're talking about getting to sleep, what about when you're asleep? So obviously the idea is to breathe through your nose whilst you're asleep, but you're not conscious. So it's hard for you to really focus on that, that awareness or that consciousness of keeping your lips sealed and breathing through your nose. So Matty, what have been some of your tips?
Well, I was going to say, going back to sleep apnea, if you're someone who snores, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have sleep apnea. However, everyone who has sleep apnea does snore.
Indeed.
Yeah, so what you do need to potentially do is, if you are a chronic snorer, you can start to do some of these things and find out if they help you at all. Whereas if you have to keep gasping for air during the night, then potentially you should go and look at doing some sleep apnea tests. I mean, even just at your local pharmacies now, they're selling sleep apnea machines.
Like portable ones.
Yeah.
So, like much easier to walk around.
Like, because it's so
common
in the world. Like,
doesn't mean it's normal.
No, as our population grows in body fat size, our sleep apnea will always increase. Once you've got, I think your neckline, what was the measurement there?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was in one of our other podcasts,
with Dr. Michael Bruce in the first podcast we did, so maybe episode 40. With him, and he talked about if your neck is past a certain size because of body fat, that you're actually more than likely going to have sleep apnea due just to weight.
Yeah, and it might not be due to weight. I've met some people who are in the healthy weight range, in the healthy body fat range, who have sleep apnea as well. And so for them, it could be based on their diet and affecting their sinuses.
So you can definitely improve it. Like, if you've got sleep apnea, you've got sleep apnea, but you can definitely improve it. And yes, in some cases, you can remove the use of things like a sleep apnea machine. So something I've been playing with recently is using some tape on my mouth.
We actually mentioned this in one of our...
We've mentioned it a lot recently.
The sleep podcast.
Sleep podcast, but we've also talked about it with Chad last week as well.
Yes.
But so we're looking to use a white paper tape. Ideally, we're looking for one that is hypoallergenic, so one that's not going to cause any issues with skin when it's stuck to your mouth.
And when you rip it off.
And I was doing it with a mustache for a while, and the mustache was kind of getting in the way, so I have recently got rid of the mustache.
No, you haven't. It's still there.
It was a lot longer.
Yeah, it was.
Didn't pay attention to it. Wow. And so from there, what you're looking to do is you just take the mouth, and ideally you want to take the full length of your mouth, so from end to end, really, so you can't really get air in. And if you wanted to, you could start with just a strip, like a small little strip that kind of only covers the middle of your mouth, so you can still breathe through your mouth if you need to, if it's freaking you out.
So you mentioned, obviously, if you're gasping for air. Now, if you don't know if you're gasping, some people do wake themselves up, and so that's how you know. But if you're not sure if you're waking yourself up, if you do sleep in the same bed with somebody else, get them to let you know. Or you can actually get an app that can record what sounds you're making through the night, and then rather than having to listen back to a whole 6, 7 or 8 hour episode of you sleeping, it will show you blips where sounds were made, and so you can skip ahead to those bits and hear what's happening.
If you're making lots of noises, like really just trying to get air in, and it's like a panic air grasp, then that's usually due to having some sort of some sort of breathing dysfunction going on. So the whole point of taping is that it makes you nasal breathe only, or as much as possible makes you nasal breathe. And
you'll actually sleep deeper and feel more rested when you wake.
Yeah, and so one thing I do want to mention is Patrick McKeown. Okay, so when we talk to Patrick, he talks about breathe light. So for those people who say, you know what, this is all well and good, but I can never breathe through my nose because it's always blocked, there's a few different things that we can tend to do. And if you've got a little bit of a blocked nose, this is really good. If you're completely congested, it's not going to work, unfortunately. You need to clear some stuff out and go for it. So a few things you can do is obviously aggressively breathe out into, or exhale out into a tissue to get rid of any boogers you have. You can also do things like breath of fire. There's a breath of fire that you go through the nose only.
It depends what yoga tradition you come from, but Kapalabhati is the fast, the fast breathing, skull shining breath.
I mean, you might get a few little booger shots come out, but one good thing is if you can breathe through your nose is to do breathe light. So let's once again go through a little breathing exercise. Breathe light. What we're going to do once again is aim to breathe just through our nose, and we're going to aim to slow our breath down. Okay, so we're going to inhale for maybe 1 to 2 seconds, and we're going to exhale for maybe 1 to 2 seconds. I want these breaths to be shorter than what you usually take in. So we're trying to reduce the amount of oxygen we're getting in. A good way to think of it is you've got nose hairs, and I don't want you to move those nose hairs as you breathe in or out. Just nice and light breathing. You might feel a little faint while you're doing this. Let's just really try to calm down the system. Once again, you should be sitting while you're doing this.
Yeah, I'm not driving.
And just nice light breaths in through the nose. Out through the nose, just nice and slow.
And if you have low blood pressure and you get dizzy often, definitely be seated, but maybe don't even do these exercises. I don't know.
Correct, yeah. And so once again, just nice slow breathing in through the nose. And what I want you to do is on your next exhale, we're going to grab the nose like we did at the end of the bulk test, and we're just going to shake the head up and down like you're nodding. So it's just a nod up and down. We're going to do this for about 10 nods. And then when you finish your 10th nod, just go back to regular breathing through your nose again. No big deep gasps for air, we're just regular breathing. And then we can return back to that breathe light where we go to small light breaths in, small light breaths out. And you can repeat that maybe 1 to 2 times. A few things might happen during that stage. You might start to get a clear nose. You might start to get some salivation in your mouth. And you might start to actually heat up the body a little bit, so you might find that you get a little bit more blood flow happening. So it's pretty crazy what you can do just through your breath. So that kind of leads me into saying we can prep ourselves for anything that our day has through breath. You don't necessarily need a coffee to wake yourself up. You can wake yourself up with a few different breathing protocols.
And it's free.
It is free. It just takes a little bit of your time and a little bit of your effort. Which is unfortunately a little bit too much cost for some people, but it's definitely worth a shot. So, I mean, there's different things that we can do. Some people may have heard of Wim Hof breathing, which is like the big inhalations in and out.
Like hyperventilating.
And I mean, that can really wake your system up. Just like short, sharp breaths can kind of really wake your system up and put you into almost a fight or flight state. What we can do is actually go through stages of working your way up into that and then working your way out so you're woken, so you're essentially awake and active and ready, but you've come back to a calm state. So I mean, there's different breathing protocols you can do. What sort of stuff do you do in yoga, Stace?
There are a few different exercises that I wanted to share with everybody. So pranayama means breath technique. One that we use a lot is known as ujjayi, which translates from Sanskrit as victorious breath. And it's a deeper breath into the back of your throat, almost like an audible tone, where you create a slight constriction in the back of your throat. It doesn't have to be loud. We start people off reasonably loud so that they can get a feel for it, and then you can actually make your breath quite quiet, but you still feel that connection. And it does allow you a deeper connection with your breath and with your yoga practice, but it doesn't have to be done with yoga. So the way that we instruct this is to inhale through your nose, and then hard it out through your mouth. Inhale again through your nose. Hard it out through your mouth as though you're fogging up a mirror. Beautiful. Inhale again. Now seal your lips, but still exhale through your mouth as though you're exhale through your nose as though you're fogging up a mirror. Go ahead and continue this. Inhale and exhale. And you can kind of feel a slight tone in the back of your throat, almost like the waves at the ocean. And so that's a really nice breath to use if you do want to slow everything down, get your heart rate a little bit slower. Now on the opposite side of the extreme, we mentioned Kapalabhati before.
So breathing during sport or recovery, a really powerful thing to do is So you go through your mouth only for 2 types of breaths, which would be the same amount of time in as the same amount of time out. Then you'd go for double the amount of time in to the time out. So for instance, let's talk in numbers because it makes more sense. Breathing in through your mouth and out through your mouth, you go for 1 second in, 1 second out. Then once you've done that for maybe 1 to 2 times through, you'll go 2 seconds in, 2 seconds out through your mouth. And then we move to your nose where we're going 2 seconds in, 1 second out. And then change it around and go 1 second in, 2 seconds out, finishing with your nose breathing completely, which would be 1 second in, 2 seconds out. Now, obviously, you times this by however many your numbers are. So if you're doing 2 seconds in, you'd be doing 4 seconds out, where it doubles at the end. So how this might sound is, I'll try not to pass out while I'm doing this because it's obviously kind of like a hyperventilation. But say in the middle of the workout you completely pooped. I'm just going to go through and do 2 cycles of each. So mouth breathing, 1-1. Okay, mouth breathing, 2-1. Then we'd go to nose mouth. Once again, we're going to go 2 seconds or 2 in to 1 out. And then we'll go just to nose mouth again for 1 in to 2 out. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then we go to just nose, where we're going 1 to 2 out. So you'll go. Now, ideally, we're trying to get through that as fast as we can. So take away me talking in between all of that, and that's how I'm going to go through. You'll probably take 2 to 3 cycles on each of those rather. And what you can do is kind of fast track through these as well. You don't need to necessarily go through all 5 stages of that. You might go mouth for 1 second in, 1 second out, straight to nose, 2 seconds in, 1 second out through the mouth, back down to nose only in through the mouth. In through the nose for 1 second and out through the nose for 2 seconds.
When you say multiple cycles of each, are you saying do the full thing multiple times?
No, so just the first. Yeah, so for instance, you go mouth, because when you think about in the middle of the workout where you're completely pooped, you're not going to be able to breathe through your nose. It's not going to happen. So you're going to need to get as much oxygen as you can, and that's where the mouth breathe in, breathe out as quick as you can kind of really helps.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think that kind of takes us to a little wrap.
Yeah.
In regards to the breathing, what we might just do is a little breathing protocol. So this is just going to be for you guys. Once again, if you're pregnant, please do not participate. As well as if you have, what would it be? Like people with diabetes, you can definitely do it. Just make sure you're not on a low, obviously.
Well hydrated and fed and.
If you feel pretty faint in general, it's probably not a good time to do it as well. So a few things to think of when you're doing breathing protocols. Ideally, you want to be seated. If you want, you can close down your eyes. You do not have to. But we're going to go through a few different stages of a few different types of these types of breathing that we've just talked about. Okay, so what I'll get you to do is we're going to try for today to only breathe in through your nose. Follow along for as much as you can. If you feel at any point you can't keep up with the counting that we're doing, return to the closest amount that you can do. So say for instance, I say breathe in for 10 seconds and you get to 8 and you're done, then let's start to exhale at that point and go for it from there. Now, if we're doing a breath in with a breath hold and then a breath out with a breath hold, and once again, I'm saying, hey, let's do 10 seconds. Don't worry, we're not going to 10 seconds. But I say, hey, we're doing 10 seconds and you can only do 5. Then stick at 5 seconds. Just work to your capacity for now. So this could be really beneficial this can be done at many different times of the day. I mean, it can be done to help you wake up. It could be done to calm your system down and help you go to sleep. This could be something that you do potentially, and I mean, before you went out for, say, for instance, game day, or if you were trying to pep yourself up a little bit, I would throw a few extra things in there. But I mean, this is really something just to kind of calm your nerves down. It's also really good practice. It can be really helpful for helping you to increase your fitness levels in general because you're increasing your CO2 tolerance. Okay, so what I want you to do, once again, let's just go to nose breathing, and we're going to exhale all of our oxygen out. So when you're ready, take a nice big deep breath out. And we're going to start to breathe in through the nose for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And exhale for 3, 2, 1. Breathing in for 1, 2, 3. Exhale for 1, 2, 3. We're going for 5 seconds in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 seconds out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In for 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out for 7. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to regular nose breathing. We're going to go to a triangle face. So you're going to breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back in for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, holding for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
One more time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Holding for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. We're going for 8 seconds in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And holding for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Holding. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And hold for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In for 7 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out for 7 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And return just to regular breathing. So, hopefully you should feel a little bit more calm now. It's
quite short little protocol.
That was very short, very little, very small little protocol. And I mean, these we can build to be an hour long if you really wanted, or you could go for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, but that's just to give you kind of a quick insight as to how you can, I guess, kind of mix and match a few of the different protocols that we've talked about, all the different protocols that are out there. So go.
Well, I was just going to say, and how powerful it is, even just a short amount of time, you'll still get so many benefits, even just for a 5 minute or less protocol.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't know how much that adds up to. Like, we've got the box breathing with the 8 seconds was a minute, just over a minute worth of breathing. So I mean, that was the longest piece of all of it. The rest of it would have been done pretty quickly. So I mean, talking about a few minutes, and I mean, if you want to listen back to that, just keep listening to that. It can be just a really good way to start your protocol, and then you can build up from there. So I mean, if you're not already looking into breath, this is a really good place to start. I guess the biggest tips is nose breathing as much as possible. Always trying to breathe through your nose. Checking out how you're breathing. So if you've got any dysfunction, and that includes if you've got something like sleep apnea, or how to improve your sleep through your breathing. So making sure that you're breathing through your nose. In nervous or anxious situations, stressful situations, try to return to your nose as much as possible, and double the exhale compared to your inhale. And once again, this can really help in your fitness levels. So I talked about it in the sleep podcast, I didn't really talk about it here, but since I've been taping my mouth, since I've been focusing on breathing through my nose more, for instance, if we have a workout that starts with a row, I'll work on just breathing in through my nose for that row, and then I'll just go to regular breathing throughout the workout, and I'll use things like that breath recovery that we talked about during the workout, and that helps me just to get back to a steady state as fast as possible. It's talking, like we're talking about trying to get oxygen to your muscles that need it as fast as possible, so you can recover and power on from there.
Getting rid of the waste carbon dioxide.
Exactly, and so for me, I've found a lot of a big increase in just my fitness, which has been awesome. We actually also had one of the listeners message in and said, dude, since I've been focusing just on my nose breathing when, for instance, he had to do farmer's carry the other day, it's like, it wasn't that I'm focusing on it all the time, but I focused on it just for that point in time, and it really helped me to be able to hold on for longer. It helped me take my focus off of my burning forearms. And really what's happening on a cellular level there is that he's getting oxygen to the places that it needs to be.
Yeah, totally.
So it's very powerful. It doesn't have to relate just to fitness. We can talk about in all sides health like we did, stress. We can remove stress based on the remote, which is your breathing.
And you can think about it as a healing tool as well.
Yeah, massively.
Very, very powerful. Well, thank you for tuning in. That's all we have for you. If you want to delve deeper into breath, you can check out any of our previous podcasts with Brian McKenzie,
yeah.
Patrick McEwen.
Anastasis.
Oh yeah, Anastasis. So there's a few breathing
There's also Luke Wills.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can go back and check over a few of those. Of course, you can reach out to us if you have any questions as well. But otherwise, guys, thank you so much. Please give us a rating or a review, or tell your friends about us if you haven't already. We love you lots, and we will talk to you again next week.
See you next time.